Hello, welcome back to the book Harlots. Today we are going to be discussing Blood Vow, but first, I'm Eliza Mann.
I'm AJ Norris.
And I'm safe spelling.
All right, so we'll get right into our boy Axe. I really like him. I'm just gonna say that right up front. But here's the summary. So the Black Dagger Brotherhood continues to train the best of the best to join them in the deadly battle against the lessening society. Among the new recruits, Axe proves to be a cunning and vicious fighter, and also a loner, isolated because of personal tragedy. When an aristocratic female needs a bodyguard, Axe takes the job, though he's unprepared for the animal attraction that flares between him and the one he is sworn to protect. For Elise, who lost her first cousin to a grisly murder, Axe's dangerously erotic appeal is enticing and possibly a distraction from her grief. But as they delve deeper into her cousin's death and their physical connection grows into so much more, Axe fears that the secrets he keeps and his tortured conscience will tear them apart. Rage, the brother with the biggest heart, knows all about self-punishing, and he wants to help Axe reach his full potential. But when an unexpected arrival threatens Rage and Mary's new family, he finds himself back in the trenches again, fighting against a destiny that will destroy all he holds most dear. As Axe's past becomes known, the fate seems to be turning against Rage. Both males must reach deep and pray that love, rather than anger, will be their lantern in the darkness. So that is the synopsis, and we'll get right into it. So this was our first time meeting Elise, who was an interesting Glimera female. What did you guys think of her?
I liked her. As we get into more of the story, she's a little bit of a know-it-all. But I mean, not necessarily that's a bad thing, but I think we all know somebody in that our lives and stuff like that. But I she's likable. So
Yeah, I liked her. I liked her. I thought that I like that she wasn't like just taking on the whole Glimera thing. She's like, I want an education. I don't care what you guys are talking about. I want to be able to help people. We went through so much as a culture with all the raids, and I just want to be able to, to do something, with my life, and not just sit around and plan parties and stuff like that, like her father wanted her to do. So I like that about her, and I also like that even though sometimes she comes off, like of a know-it-all or something like that, she like when she realizes she's wrong, she'll stop and be like, oh my God, that was such a horrible thing. I have no right to say these things to you. And we see her do that with, within the story. So I really like that too.
Yeah.
I think. Mm-hmm. Sorry, go ahead, dear.
No, go ahead.
Well, I just I did feel a little bit like, like we got that with Paradise too, where they didn't want to just kind of sit around the house and be, wait to be mated. They were kind of like forging their own destiny. And yeah, Paradise isn't it as maybe know-it-all as much as Elise, but I did see that similar streak of independence in them. So that was kind of, a welcome change,
Yeah, I feel like her and Paradise were both not wanting to get mated necessarily and, follow that path. So that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of refreshing, right? I do like to meet the younger Glimera, even though it's not that many left. It's nice to meet them too. So and so her mate or her bodyguard was Axe. What did you guys think of him?
Hot.
For sure. Oh my God.
And it's interesting that he has the yellow eyes, so which are supposed to be kind of rare. So it's kind of interesting. So, kind of seems a little darker than Fury and Z, but.
Mm-hmm.
He's whatever. He's hot.
He's hot, and I liked his character because he's one of those. I'm a sucker for one of those redemption characters, right? And I feel like he feels like he's a bad guy with the things that he's done in his life, and he holds this like it's like a crutch. He uses it as a crutch, right? I'm a bad guy. You know, I did all these things, and I'm trying to, like, he tries to redeem himself, but at the same time still thinks he's like no good, you know? And I like that conflict in him because he's trying to be better and stuff, but you know, he still kind of struggles with it. So he's just endearing. He's a very endearing character.
He really is. I think I would agree with that. And as we learned about, him feeling, and all this kind of revolves around the guilt he felt for not being, there when his father passed away. And I think he was high at the time. And he was like, kind of just one of those people that, he was acting out. So it all stemmed from like his mom's hurt. So he was definitely a redemption, on the road to redemption. I think the first thing he had to do was forgive himself. So it was, it's always good to see those stories when people start to come to realize that they may not be the monster they think they are. So, and then we see him, one of the things was he kind of didn't use all the house. He went into his father's room to get a turtleneck for his interview. And it almost felt like he was shying away from dealing with the things that were in his father's room. Like he hadn't been in there in a long time. You could tell that the window was like slightly cracked. It was leaves and snow and whatever else in there. And he just kind of hightailed it out of there. Why do you think that was so difficult for him?
Well, it was guilt.
Yeah, because one of the things is like his father called him, during the raids, like when, the house was being attacked, probably, who knows what he said, probably he loved him or whatever he was going to tell him. And instead of listening to the voicemail that he left, Axe just erased it without bothering to see what he actually said to him. So he had guilt about that, but, which I get. I felt like he was a piece of shit because of it.
Yeah. It's the guilt of that, and it's the guilt of all the shit that led up to it too, right? So like on his dying, he, like the day he died, he called and I ignored it because I was so into what I was doing. But I think it was because it was like it was that and how he treated him through all that time as well. So all that lost time he had with his dad and all the things that, that he was doing and ignoring their relationship, that's a part of the guilt as well, I think. And I think that's haunting him too.
Yeah, like he didn't want to bother to understand his father. He just, after his mom and left, he just was like, you don't care about me or whatever. Because his dad just, he was a bonded male, so he just, he never got over his Shaolin leaving. So.
Yeah, I don't think he understood truly what his father was going through until he became a bonded male. Mm-hmm. And he was almost like faced with the same thing. I won't get all the way to the end, but he was almost faced with the same thing. Like you might not have the one that you love in your life at that time. So what do you do with all of that emotion? For his father, he kind of was carving figurines, which were beautiful. That he poured that love into those woodland creatures that he was creating. And I think it wasn't until Axe faced his own issues that he actually realized, oh wow, this is what that feels like. So I do think he was running away from that. He closed a lot of doors because in addressing his past hurt, he might have to kind of dig a little deeper and discover who he really is. And we know that these warrior men, they can't really do that well. So I think that was the primary reason. But our boy Pepe was I kind of felt like he had a shit ton of audacity to kind of be judgy with Axe. And when he first met Elise, it was evident that they both liked each other. And we all felt it. Everybody in the bar felt it. And he kind of chased her out of the bar. And Peyton went off. Was that some glamorous shit, or was he really reacting to the fact that you know, at that time, Axe was kind of a darker figure in the training program. So which one was it?
You know, honestly, I really think that it had more to do with him being a commoner, you know, the Axe being a commoner, because, I mean, look at how, like, I mean, Peyton's got to look at himself. He's like a whore, you know, he's like a man whore, right? So it's
Yeah.
like, what are you talking about? Why are you judging him for, you know, the things that he likes to do when you're no better? So I think it was more of the Glimera thing and just being like, well, you're not good enough because you don't have any money, or you're just, you know, I mean, but I don't even think he necessarily even felt that way. It was just like inbred in him, and he just couldn't, it was, you know, he had to have something happen for him to realize that this behavior was just not going to work anymore, you know, just
Hmm.
for modern society. So,
Yeah.
but, you know, things happen to him in this book.
Well, what about you, Sage? What do you think about that?
I think, I mean, part of it probably is what AJ just said. But I think, also, you know, you just because he's a hoe doesn't mean that he's gonna allow a guy to be with his cousin that's a hoe. That's like that's a like
True.
across the
True.
board. Like that's different. That's my cousin. Don't bring that up. You know, like I'm me, he's him.
I
But
don't know.
and besides that, I mean, Peyton, yeah, he's a hoe. He like kind of has a girl here and a girl there, but it was different with the Keys, because the Keys was, you know, a sex club where the same type of lifestyle that ended up killing their other cousin, which we know that Peyton is dealing with that death. And I think that has something to do with it too. Like, this is too dark for my cousin. We already lost one because of this road that one was on. I don't want to do it again. Our family can't handle it again. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think all the Glimera, all the aristocracy are all cousins or distant cousins. So it's like, you know, I don't know. I just think it's almost better. He's holding, you know.
I think I'm just accustomed to it because of my culture. It's like we're all like somehow distantly.
I kind of think it was both. Like it was three things. So first, he didn't love X as a person in the first place, right? So it wasn't like he was best friends, you know, and Peyton wasn't the type of guy that kind of, you know, warms up to people immediately. And then the Glimera thing, right? So she should be with another member of the Glimera, and maybe even me, you know, because I'm more worthy of her. And then finally, he knew who Axe was, you know, with the outfits and the keys and all of that. And one of the things that he ended up saying to him was, you know, you're just gonna kind of use her and throw her away, and she don't deserve that shit. So I think that all of those things kind of culminated into, like, you know, creating that friction between the two of them. And I honestly can't really hate on Peyton. It's a lot to hate on Peyton about, but I can't really hate on him because we just lost a member of our family to this shit. So I just don't want another member of my family dying that way. So they had lost, you know, I can't remember her name, Allison. They lost her brother. They lost her. Like, their family has been hit really hard since the raids, and that's a short period of time to like lose all of those people. So I think he was dealing with that, and I don't think Peyton is necessarily the type of guy that can deal with shit and just be like, hey, this is my feelings and here's how I'm going to deal with them in a healthy way. He's just not that dude, you know. So I think it was a lot of it. Right.
Yeah, and then like think about when they just met him 5 minutes prior to this, when they all met to go, you know, for their training thing, he came back smelling like not only did he smell like sex, but he smelled like many people. So like it was like 5 minutes before this guy was hitting on his cousin. So, you know, he just kind of was like, no, that's just not gonna happen.
Yeah.
I'm gonna agree to disagree. So I think it's part of it, but because he just did. But I think it was also. I mean, you can't blame it all on Peyton either, too, because Axe decided he didn't like him because he was rich. So, you know, there's that too. So I think it was just they didn't like each other because
hold on.
He didn't decide.
He didn't. Yeah, it was the way he approached him about it. You gotta,
Yeah.
you know, it wasn't that he said, I'm not gonna like you, I don't like you because you're rich. He was like, you're rich and you think you could tell me what the fuck you want to tell me to do. And just because you're rich, it doesn't work that
Right,
way.
right. Well,
And that was the reason why he had that perception. It wasn't because, you know, it wasn't
and he already had so Axe did have a built-in thought process about Glamira people, right? Because they locked his dad out, let him get killed in the raids. You know, and that is legit what happened to a lot of people in during the raids. So I just feel like both of them were kind of unevolved in their feelings toward each other. So I think Peyton was wrong. Peyton was dead ass wrong. And it wasn't the first time that he had treated people, you know, less than. So when Craig and Paradise got together, he was kind of like, you know, whatever the fuck, you supposed to be with me. I'm rich, I'm hot, I'm good looking. Like, what is happening? You know, why don't you want me? And at that time, he was still pining away. Do you guys think, and this is totally off script, but do you guys think that a part of him was like, you commoners are not getting another fucking one of these Glamira chicks that I can't get a hold of?
well,
Like,
yeah, there was a thought process that Peyton had, you know, where he was like, what the fuck, you know, like, what's wrong with me? You know, I'm all these things in a bag of chips, and these women, these females, they don't want me. What am I doing? I mean, he starts to realize, what the fuck am I doing wrong? You know, so
yeah, I mean, like after he got shot in the head, but you know, that's a later time.
if he needed a shot in the head, if it wasn't the head, it should have had to be the ass, but he had to get shot somewhere.
Oh my God. So on the other side, we have Elise, who was kind of going through her own thing. Like, she was dealing with the same things that Peyton was, with like her cousin being killed. And, you know, they didn't even kind of talk to her. But in school, where I feel like she had like a little bit of control, she starts to entertain this notion of dating her professor, Troy. So was she just desperate for companionship? Was she afraid of like missing out on life and something happening to her? Or was she just repelling? Like, why would she date her professor?
I don't know, you know, because she already knows that this is a relationship that can never go anywhere, because she's a vampire and he's human. So I don't think it was so much that. I feel like it was more of like, this was something that she could choose to do, where like everything was chosen for her. Like, her dad was saying, oh, I need to find you a mate. This is, you know, and all this stuff. And her whole life was revolved around what others want for her, as opposed to what she wanted. So, I mean, she was sneaking around going to school, even though her sire didn't want her to, you know, and she had scholarships. It's the only reason she was even in school. And, you know, I just feel like she was just trying to it's asserted herself without actually confronting her sire on it. So, which is a shame, because that's kind of wimpy on her part. But, you know, it's like, I mean, I get it, because their society is very closed-minded, but, you know, and it's like the younger generation are not so closed-minded.
Yeah. What about you, Sage?
I mean, I don't know. I think she was bored. He was attractive. She had sex since she had one bad experience, and was with that dirtbag guy that used to feed her, that turned out to be married.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like she can do anything with anybody in her class, because who she got Peyton. You know, and, you know, so like all the hush hush, so it could, you know, it would make things worse for her if she was, you know, got with a vampire at this point, because then they'd find out that she wasn't a virgin, right? So there's all these things there. So she's like, you know, I'm just gonna have a little fun. I deserve some fun, and I think that's what she was doing. So I think it was a little bit of rebelling and a little bit of a want of companionship. I think it's like a 50-50 split there.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I think she probably thought that it would be really hard for her to get mated within a race. And I think she was kind of already ready to settle, which, you know, like the lowest rung is human, right? So at least according to the Glamira. And I think also she wanted to like start living her life but she also wanted that safety of retreating away. So, you know, like she wasn't like inviting Troy into her life. She's like, no, you can't pick me up. No, you can't. You know, so it was
Yeah.
this wall, like, you ain't coming over my house. You know, whereas when she was talking to Axe, like she was pretty ballsy. Like when he cut his eye, one of the things that surprised me was that she was like, oh no, come up to my room and I'm gonna fix your, and she was like, you know, just come up to my room. Like, you know, the servants were there. She could have easily been caught. This was not gonna be a good thing because they were unescorted, so unsupervised. So I just felt like with Troy, she knew she wasn't, like, there was no threat there. And she could easily whoop his ass, right? So she had like this, like, I'm gonna try these waters, test these waters out, and see where it goes, because I don't have a shot in my society, in my class, right? So I don't know. I mean, it could be. And also her dad was like a little batshit crazy. So was he making her pay for her cousin's indiscretions?
Yeah, a little bit. He was more, you know, he was concerned, you know, yeah, he was concerned after the raids, but then it was almost worse after her death. But it had only been like what, a month or so. I can't remember what the timeline was, but like a couple months or something.
I think it was like a month.
Yeah, I think it was like 2 months or something like that. And what was the question again?
The question is, was her sorry ass daddy punishing her for how her cousin behaved and how her cousin also
behaved? I think a little bit. You know, he didn't want the family to be any more embarrassed than they already were. So, So, but at the same time, I think I almost feel like he was on the fence about it too. So, because, you know, when she finally tells him, hey, I'm moving out, he wasn't like, okay, I'm disowning you. He didn't want to talk about it, but he wasn't like, okay, you're out of the family. So, you know.
Well, right, because at that point he could have petitioned for her to, what is that?
Seclusion,
like a
seclusion, right?
Yeah.
So when she said that I was leaving, he could have cock-blocked that. So we know that he could have. I think that in a lot of ways, you know, they were worried. He was worried because he just wanted her to be just like that Glymera girl. Like, he didn't want her to do all that other stuff. So, you know, I think he worried that she would fall into trouble. There was still danger out there. There's so many people that had lost their lives. Her mother had lost her life. So she, you know, I think he was just really worried and strict on her. I mean, that went on before her cousin's death. That went on, I mean, she'd been going to school for a year without him knowing. So she had been kind of playing, you know, sneaking around for a while.
Yeah,
that was, you know, her mother's thing was, you know, her mother was strident, you know, it seemed, before she passed away. And because she was like, you know, saying that, oh, if I had done some things like my mom wouldn't hesitate to walk into a room without being invited. So I think the reason she was even like able to do as much as she did was because of her mother's willfulness. So yeah, I think that in a way her father was like, you know, I'm losing things, I'm losing people, and I don't want to lose her. So I'm just gonna lock her ass away. You know, and that's just unfair, you know?
I feel like her mother, because her mother, I just feel like this feeling that her mother was younger than her sire because she died in childbirth. That's how she died. So that was said, you know, so I'm thinking that she was significantly younger. I don't know. I just see her dad as this older dude. Maybe he's not, but, you know, he probably looks young. He's probably not gray or anything. Probably looks like he's 30 years old, but, you know, because there's look really young. So, but I just have a feeling still that her mother was a lot younger. I don't know. He said that.
Yeah.
So, but
younger spirit. Maybe, I mean, you know, like sometimes it's like a younger spirit.
He's going, you know, so that kind of spirit wore off on Elise. Because how dare her go to school if you're just bred to, you know, be party planners and, you know, vessels for babies, you know, I mean, that's not what she was raised with, you know, and the fact that her sire wouldn't notice that either is kind of stupid, but you know.
But yeah, like her mom was slick, right? Like she dug the holes in the painting so she could see what's in her
Like, I'm
dad's
gonna see
office.
what's up. What you doing in here? Like I of course we didn't meet her mother, but her mother was, kind of like a person that I go drinking with, you know. She just seemed like, you ain't the boss of me, sir. So I thought that was pretty cool. But when they met though, she did kind of, play that coy role. And Axe just like gripped his gat. Like, what y'all think when they first met in the bar?
I mean, yeah, he's like pulling out a gun.
I was
like, you need to chill out, dude.
Which is hilarious because when he needed to pull out the gun 5 minutes before that in the alley, he did not.
He
froze. What a state
was like, you're dead. He didn't have a gun.
Scene. That was a different. That was a different scene. But that's
what she said. When he
like 5 minutes before, because he said it right. So when he pulled out the gun and he realized he was holding the gun, he was like, "Now I take out the gun when I needed it in the alley. I didn't take out the gun."
Yeah, they were on punishment at that point in time. So he couldn't do it to save his life, but he was gonna save her or something.
He was gonna keep taking away from her is what he was gonna do with that gun.
Right. It was so cute. I really enjoyed their first meeting. I liked that he was kind of stupefied by her. I liked that she was like trying to carry on conversations, and she like got this duality thing, like, oh, he looks so good, and I like almost applauded when he got up and like ran out behind her. I'm like, catch her. And she played him. I was like, the audacity. When she like ghosted out, I was like, girl, you are doing the most. It was so cool. So cool.
Yeah.
And then Peyton came out.
Yeah. But that was like, she's like, yeah, go ahead, deal with my cousin. Bye.
Yeah, he was something else. I don't know. Peyton was a son of a gun. So, all right. So, based on Elisa's reaction to X, did she bond with X or was it just sexual attraction? Y'all already know what I'm going to say, but I'm going to let y'all go ahead.
I know. Well, this is a debate we have. I just think that this is kind of my theory. So how the Sky Virgin, when they want to like check, because like she's done this, like she did this with Wrath and Beth. I mean, you have your palms, your hands, and she says, oh, pronounces it, takes their hand, pronounces it's a good mating. I kind of have this theory that it's more than just the male being bonded to the female for it to be a good bond. I think it has to be a reciprocal situation. I'm not saying that they bond, like the females bond as strongly. I don't think it's as physiological as it is for the males, but I still think that in order for it to be a true bond, it has to be a reciprocal situation. So,
you ain't answered the question though. So did Elise bond?
I think that she. I mean, yeah, there was definitely sexual attraction there, but based on the way that she was raised, why would she even take a second look at him? Think about it, I mean, yeah, but
Right,
like like some of the chimera types would be like, well, he's a commoner, like, and not even care. So, I mean, she's younger, of course, but.
And I mean, and he has the bad boy look, right? So I'll give you that. Like, he's hot. He's hot. I mean, like, look at those tats, right? The tat, the good side, the bad side, the good side, like that whole theory he has, which is freaking phenomenal. I love it. Yes. But look at me, I'm like, yes. Yes. But besides that, I feel like I agree that it has to be something more because she has seen multiple men, right? She's in college with the humans. Even the guy that she like debated on going to date, she's like, yeah, he's kind of cute, maybe I should go out with him. But with Axe, she like felt it instantly, and she felt the attraction, and it was sexual. But I think for the female, It is sexual for them. It is that I want him. I haven't wanted anyone else like I wanted him. We saw it with Beth, where she like basically like Wrath was walking, he was basically like stalking her, you know, looking out her window, and she like jumped him after being attacked. Right? So it didn't matter. That physical attraction is there for them. And I don't think it's the same type of bonding as the males, where they, you know, have to mark them and do all that in the scent and all of that. It's a different thing for the males. But I really do believe for the females, that sexual chemistry that we see, that's part of their bonding. Okay. I just truly believe that.
So I disagree because
that's one. No.
there are
no way.
There are human women who are mated to vampires. So based on your theory that in order for them to be a true bond, which is what you said, it has to be something happening on the female side. And we all know that humans do not bond to one another.
Okay, but
so what? I let you guys talk all the way through your stuff, and I did not interrupt. So we gonna do that, and then you can rebuke me all you want. And I'm not saying that there's not something intensely strong that happens between from the female side. I just do not agree that it is a actual chemical bond or covalent bond that occurs between the female to the male. That's what I've always said. So no, they do not interact the same. I do not think that it needs that in order for it to be a true bond. I don't believe that it needs that female side. Otherwise, Axe's dad would have been able to just go find him another woman, you know, and go on. She was truly not bonded to this man. It was completely independent of how she felt. He sat in his basement for years and whittled woodland creatures alone because he was heartbroken and this woman was not coming back to him. If that were the case, if your theory, if your hypothesis were correct, he would have been able to go on and find another woman.
Well,
right?
That would mean
if the bond would be broken.
No, because you're saying that you didn't say that they. No, but we're not saying every male that bonded with the female bonded with the male.
Correct.
We're not saying that. I'm not saying that because that is
for it to be mating that's approved by the scribe virgin, it has to be both ways. But that's not to say that it always is both ways.
So you're saying that sometimes the bonds are not true?
Yeah.
You're saying that some bonds are invalid in comparison to other bonds?
Well,
no.
Not complete.
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
Because human women are not bonding in the way the vampire women bond.
This is the thing.
I do believe that they have some, you know, like there's an intuition that lets you know in this world that you've met the one for you. I do believe that women have that, but it's not a bond. Men bond, and a two bond is to release a compound that marks the female to let all other males know not to approach her. That's what a bond is by definition. So, I mean, I'm not saying that something doesn't happen on the female side, but I'm saying that it's not a bond in the sense that males bond.
Well, no, I don't think it's the same. But as far as you were talking about like humans, like let's say like Sola, for instance, she said she felt
Sola isn't human.
We don't know that. She said she was fully human, so you're assuming that she's not. So this is the thing. I feel like, or you have Sarah, which was, I can't jump ahead. Sorry, I was jumping ahead.
let's just use the women that we met that are human.
Okay, Mary.
Okay.
You know, she wanted to set him free. She was like, I don't want you here with my, you know, my cancer and everything. She's trying to push him away. And then she was just like, what the hell am I doing? Like, and she runs after him. And it's like, if she really, I don't know. I just kind of feel like if she really felt like she didn't want him around, she would never have done that. Like,
so you guys are confusing love with a bond.
But so me and AJ, our perceptions are different.
Yeah.
I don't perceive it in the same way that you're describing it.
I wasn't describing it.
So for
correctly.
women, I think it's okay. So we already know, we acknowledge the male bonds in this way, right? In the way that they do. I think the women, it's not like, I don't mean it's like a chemical, like attachment, whatever. I think it's like insta love with them. I think it's like instant for them. So when they react in that way, it's like insta love. And we, sometimes we see that in the human world, right? Insta love, right? So I think that's how it actually is for them. So that's my perception.
So you do agree
I think we each
is
have
what you're saying.
Huh?
So you do agree with me is what you're saying. Because
what I'm saying is I say that it's an insta love. Like it's an instant connection for them.
Yeah.
No other male is gonna do it for them, but it happens instantly for them. Just like kind of how like instantly the guy is grabbed, the female is instantly grabbed. And that's how I see it. But I don't think it's not the same because no chemical is released. It's a different type of bonding. But I still believe it is something is there.
What I said was I feel like the women know when they meet their true mate. Human or vampire, they just know this is my mate. So I feel like we're describing love, and what they do is a bond. It's a marking to let people know this is my woman.
Well,
right?
no, I'm saying is I feel like it is a reaction to the male that's bonding to them. Now, it doesn't always happen. I'm saying like, because probably maybe Axe's mother didn't feel that way. Or maybe the pull for the money and being in part of a different class trumped everything because she's just a selfish bitch. I mean, it could be that, she's just not an emotional person. But I feel like because it's like all these, even it's like the funny thing with this bond is like no matter, even if the woman pushes him away, they're still going to go right after her, and eventually he wins her heart. But it's like, but why? If she really doesn't like this person, no amount of coaxing is going to change how you feel about that person.
Yeah, but they don't really not like them. They just did something stupid usually. Like, like this not like, it's like any other relationship. So you like meet a guy, he cool and all, and then he do something stupid, and you're like, I don't ever want to see you again. And then next thing dude like come over with like flowers, and he like standing outside your house, and he's like holding a big ass boom box up in the air, and then you're like, oh, I forgive him. So that is just a part of relationships. I love it. I love to see it on page, but it's not a bonding. Look at our faces. Oh, I should have been an attorney here, right?
I think, like I said, we all see it. I think we all perceive it a little differently.
I don't think so. I think you just want to tell me you disagree.
Differently, and I think it's okay to perceive it differently, right? Because it's not explained, and it's how we each are perceiving it. So
yeah, it sounded like you guys described a lot of what
the only reason I'm saying this is I'm going on what we know about the world. So you have Sky Virgin who does these proclamations. Okay, it's a good bond. Is it just based on the male? I don't think so. Just don't think so.
And you saying I don't think so, but you ain't gave me no solid concrete evidence to help me see your point.
My point is how Bella reacted. She wouldn't feed from anybody else. And there was no reason for her to be in love with him. She didn't even know Z. But she couldn't take another vein. She couldn't do it. She physically could not do it. It made her sick.
By that point in time, she had like searched out his bedroom, and he had like pinned her against the wall, and she was already like falling for this man. And she wasn't. I lied. Did I lie? Okay.
But what I'm saying is, we're saying the same thing, right? It's an insta love. But it doesn't happen in the same way for humans as it does for vampires, I think, and that's the slight difference. And that's just what it is. But I think we're going to argue about this the whole time, so I think we need to move on.
We need to move on.
Yeah. I won. So it's all good.
No, you didn't win. You did not win. So you can keep it moving, but you didn't win.
Well,
so the question is, was Axe becoming Elisa's bodyguard coincidence or destiny?
Oh, Destiny.
I'm always for the Destiny,
Mm-hmm.
because I always feel like it's all written in the stars. You are mated, you are bonded, you are matched. So it is Destiny to me.
How about you, AJ?
Destiny, baby.
Destiny. Okay. I feel like it was Destiny too. So at least we agree.
We agree on something.
Yeah, I feel like it was just gonna happen. You know, for Novo to be the only one, which was bullshit, by the way, that he like turned her away because her dad turned Novo away because she was a woman. But I think that that was destiny. They were going to be together one way or another. So ding, we all three agree. All right. So why did he go off on Elise though when she was attempting to take care of him after Peyton maliciously assaulted our friend?
Why did she take him upstairs? Wait, what was that?
The
My
question.
mind is just
Let me say it again. Y'all still on that ass beating y'all took from me on.
I love how
I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it.
No. Sometimes we just stop arguing with you because it's like relentless. Like it's continuing. There's no ass beating, bro.
So the question was, why did Axe react so defensively to Elise?
well,
when
he doesn't know her, and she's just all up in his face like, why, explain this to me, you know, and he's like, I don't owe you shit, stop badgering me. He wasn't ready to open up to her at that point, and she just kept pushing him, and he just got defensive, you know. I don't blame him. I would have too.
yeah What about you, Sage?
I agree. I think that he already had this pre-notion where, you know, people in the aristocrat, they're like try to tell him what to do, because he had just had that whole thing with Peyton. They have the superiority, you know, complex, and she was just nagging him, and he just was like, I don't have to tell you anything. And you know, I think she set something off in him when she was nagging him. But I think that's why.
Probably. I do feel like Axe spent a lot of time building up walls around himself, because, you know, he did see people get hurt when they get too close, especially the people in the Glamera. So I think that a part of his, you know, protecting himself, he wouldn't even accept, even from the Brotherhood, like he didn't want to tell people that he was hungry. He would go to the training program to eat, and her kind of coming at him, and while he had this wall up, I think it disarmed him. And in a lot of ways, she, like, you know, made him think about things that he had kind of pushed to the back. So, you know, it felt like, yeah, she was like super like, well, what happened and what's going on, and I need to understand. And he like, I ain't got to tell you a damn thing, because he needed that space, you know, to push her off of him so that he could regroup, you know, because she was, you know, he knew he was feeling something for her, and he hadn't bonded yet, but he wanted her real bad. So if she would have kept going, he would have just opened himself up, filleted himself for her right there. And I think he needed that, you know, to protect himself, right?
Yeah, no, definitely, because he I think that was the first time he actually felt vulnerable, is around her. You know, so yeah, definitely.
I would agree with that. He failed. I'm picking back up. All right. So all of that happened, and Elise, who kind of was thinking that she wasn't really excited about Troy, she decided to go on a date with him anyway. Why do you think she did that?
I don't know. It pissed me off that she did it.
Yeah, but she, you know, Axe had pushed her away. He had already said this is going to be professional, so she's like, "Why not? I'll go on a date," you know. And when she agreed to it, he was being an ass. So, you know, so she was just like, well, this is what I'm going to do. And then she spent the whole date thinking about him. So, you know, really, the joke is on her. Think about it.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
the
but
whole
she
day.
played. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say she spent the whole day thinking about him because he followed her ass there. And she saw
I think she would have anyway. Because she was at that point kind of comparing Troy to him. she was like comparing him to, you know, to X. So
Yeah, I think I felt like she was just kind of, you know, again, and it's sad. This is sad to say. I feel like she was using Troy a little bit. Like she was using him to get her jollies off a bit. Like, okay, well, he's around and I could have him if I want him. So I can't have this one guy that I do want. So let me just go back to this old, faithful, reliable dude. Which, you know, it wasn't necessarily fair to Troy, but he was kind of like a puppy dog, right? So I get why she did it. I do think, you know, it was like, I can't have what I want, so I'm going to settle for something else. And I think she thought she could be happy at that moment. I think she thought she could be happy that way. So you mentioned a little bit ago that he followed her on the date stage. So was that fair? Like he like, you know, imposed on her privacy. Was that fair?
Absolutely not. Because if you're gonna push me away and tell me no, we can't do nothing, then don't be stalking me. Like,
well,
you're not getting paid
the
to be
first
bodyguard me
he was
tonight.
bonding, right? Because that's like the first sign he was bonding, because he can't physically stay away from her. He cannot help himself. So I don't even really blame him for it. He just couldn't help it himself. Just couldn't help it. So
I still think you can't have your cake and eat it too, X. I still think he was in denial. He was like, and I think, you know, his initial reaction showed that it was going to be something, because he palmed his gun. So he pulled his 40 out. So, you know, for him to say, no, this is going to be business only. Like, who you lying to, dog? And then you got to follow her across the city. Like, you should have just fessed up and said, I am yours to command. Because there's no way that he should have followed that girl after he rejected her. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of unfair, right? Stalking ass. He fine though. I wouldn't have been mad. I wouldn't have been mad to find him.
No, he can follow me anywhere he wants.
Right, whatever. But you know, that tattoo thing where he's like Two-Face, you know, with tats on his side, and this is, what did he say? He said, this is who I am and this is who I want to be. And I was like, take me. And I lost it right there. Oh, he fine. So finally, after all this, you know, following her on the date and all of that, finally he gets her back to his spot, and he couldn't go through with it. Why? Like, why? Like, what's his? Why do you think? I'm sorry. Okay, go.
The mood changed at some point, because the conversation, the mood of their conversation, the tone of their conversation changed. And I think he just was like, you know, this isn't going to work right now. We're just not in the right frame of mind, either of us. And, you know, and I think him inviting her to his house was like, it was kind of symbolic of him opening up himself to her, or getting to that point that he was able to trust her, because, you know, he was embarrassed by his house and everything. And to invite her there was just like, I think, a really big step for him. And I think it was sort of like, okay, I took this step, I'm letting you in your house. Okay, we got it on a little bit, but now it's kind of like, you know, baby steps almost, you know. So just, you know, at that point, their conversation had changed, and it changed how he felt. And he did wind up opening up to her a little bit there. So, you know, it was like a really intimate moment, even though they didn't wind up completing any act. So.
Yeah, I agree. I think the mood changed. You know, he spoke about his life, his family, his father, and then he finds out, you know, like, he's not going to be her first anyway, and like, it's all these like different things, and I think it just kind of ruined it. But I remember there was something that was said that really just stopped him in his tracks, and I can't remember what it was, but it was like something shifted in the room.
He was thinking about the things that Peyton had said, the things that he had done. So they were actually, you know, at least this is my perception. They were actually like in the act, and his own thoughts kind of pulled him out of the moment. And I personally felt like it was his feelings of inadequacy that kind of presented themselves, even with his dick hard. He was like, I can't, I'm not good enough for this woman. So I don't think it was the mood. I think it was him, like, and in a lot of ways, like he spends a lot of time trying to prevent himself from being hurt in the same way that his father was hurt. So I think that it at least for me, it felt like, he was, because he never listened to Peyton before. So why would he let him like get in his head at that moment? I think that there was a lot of fear on his side and those insecurities of not having love reciprocated.
Well,
right.
And that's why I think it was like, he hit, like, it was a big step for him to invite her to his house. And so then it just kind of like, then that started fucking with his head,
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, being in that house, right? So being in that house, seeing, like having that visual of what his father went through and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
It was visually in front of him. So that's why, it messed with him. But I totally agree with what you said.
The vulnerability. the vulnerability, like, just one. So yeah. Poor X. All right. So what did you think of X telling her, following his inability to perform? He mentioned that he needed to see her with Troy because it hurt. What do you think of him saying that? That got me in the heart. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know. Like when I was listening to that, I was like, it was really sad, and it kind of made me mad. Like you only want me because with somebody, so you want me to be with somebody else because it hurt you. Like, is that it was it just made me angry that he said that. I didn't like it, and I'm not really sure where it came from. Probably from the pain and the fact that he likes to wallow in some of that self-pity sometimes, I guess. I'm not really sure.
I mean, maybe it's just a case of him coming to terms with his feelings. He was kind of closed down for a long time, and so maybe it was feeling something as opposed to nothing. I don't know. I kind of was like, God, but she didn't really react to it in a negative way, though. She was kind of concerned about it, but she was just like, she still kissed him.
Yeah, I would have been more I would have had more of a negative reaction than she did.
Yeah.
Is what I thought.
I don't know, guys. Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought because he's a sadist, he's in the S&M, and he goes there to the Key Club for that. I think that's how he equates relationships. Like he equates pain to love because of so that stemmed from his mother torturing his father for all those years. So I kind of felt like that's how he knows that he's in a relationship, like it hurts, so maybe I'm reading too much into that.
Yeah, I didn't.
No, maybe not. I mean, it could be. I didn't know where I didn't know how to take that. And I guess it bugged me that he said that to her. I don't know. But
because he was like, "Oh, I would be a sub for her." Like he was like, entertaining things that he had never tried before because for him he had to be in control, and that's a way to, make sure that nobody can harm him.
No, so that's kind of interesting because V was the same way.
Yeah.
So
I don't see a lot of similarities between him and V, but that's one thing that, they did seem, at least for me, they seem to share that he was like, this hurt. I need to feel that kind of pain. You know what I mean? So I guess, that's what I equated it to. So I didn't get mad at him. I was just like, oh, this is sad. Like he doesn't know that love can feel good too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I didn't look at it that way, but yeah, I can see what you mean.
Yeah. Bless his heart. And he was exhibiting his bonding scent, and Lisa's like, "Oh, that shampoo smells wonderful." It's like, come on, girl. Did she not know?
Delicious. Yeah, that's a shampoo. Huh?
Oh my God, that was the best. So, you know, we talked a lot about Axe's family so far, but let's talk a little bit about Elise's family. They were kind of fucked. So, her dad like wanted her to be stalked, essentially, like just don't tell her you followed her. And put a GPS in her phone. It's all good. And her aunt, with a vicious way, she talked about her daughter's death. And almost like this girl got herself murdered, the bitch. And then she, and then I can't go to any more parties. I don't even know how Elise came out that good. And yeah, she's a know-it-all, but she could have been much, much worse considering the folks in her family. So
her
what do you
mother
think?
must have just been amazing. Amazing.
I mean, it don't take away that, you know, she got a lot more bad people or people who have fucked up perceptions around her. Like Peyton is her cousin, for fuck's sakes. You know?
So like when you mentioned her aunt, you know, all I can picture when I was reading that was like, no more wire hangers.
For sure. Oh my God, I didn't even get the Joan Crawford vibe, but I should have.
Like, that's all
Oh,
I
she was mad. She was ripping that miniskirt off. Oh my God.
She was a nut job, man.
I know. And it's like with the you know, I really, when you're in the beginning of that scene where Elise is in there and she's cleaning up the closet, and you really think it's just because Allison, you know, left the room like that nobody bothered to pick it up, but it was really because her mother was a total psycho bitch. You know?
My God. She was quite a scene when she came in, though. When they like the description of her nightgown, like it was silk, but it resembled like a paper bag, and you know she was just haggard and torn. She's like, I can't go to my parties. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is like the worst bitch ever. So I am actually proud of Elise, even with an outstanding fucking mom. Like it was a lot of bullshit around her. Bless her heart.
Her aunt is just like, well, you know, it's the Glimera mentality, blame the victim. So instead of saying, okay,
yeah, but shit, like that's your child
acting out, you know, maybe I'm the cause of her acting out and spiraling out of control, you know, because
I just feel like
break free out of this mold, you know. And
I mean, you can blame your child. You can blame your child for the act, right? You fine, but you're still gonna grieve the loss of them. Like it doesn't. The whole time we were reading this thing, and I'm like, oh, she's grieving the loss of her child. She's so sad she can't get out of bed. She's so sad because she's gonna go to a goddamn party.
Right.
Like,
and throw your own party, bitch. Like, what is wrong with you? I was so disturbed. I was disturbed by a lot of things in her family. Like, you know, when her father asks to follow her, I did like the way he handled the situation. Can we talk about that for a minute? That was very decent of Axe.
Yeah, he's like, no way. I'm not doing your dirty work.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. I think as much as Axe was in a position of need, I think it was really nice of him not to, accept I can't even remember what he told him he would give him, but, it was really decent of him not to do that. So
actually, with you saying that, it reminded me that he didn't even cash the check for his job, right? For just being a bodyguard. And that when we know he needs the money to, put the lights on and put the heat on and do all that. And he just left the check sitting there because, he didn't burn it yet because it reminded him of her. Like that's some love right there.
That was love.
Yeah, but I think it's shit.
You think what?
Because she's moving in now, so he's excited about this not working. Well, yeah, when you don't pay the gas.
You can sell those figurines, so
yeah, true. But
yeah, he could take care of himself now. So, but yeah, she did have bank, so that was very, very positive. So all the good stuff happened, then some stuff that we were like, what the fuck? So Elise, bless her heart, found the key in Axe's clothes. First of all, when he was at the apartment, Allison's apartment, should he have come clean with her about what the key was at that moment?
I mean, he probably should have because it would have avoided their fight later. But I mean, it's. I mean, I get why he said, he didn't because he didn't want her to think even less of him because he just felt like a piece of shit, that he isn't worthy.
Mhm.
Like if I tell her how I know, it's going to lead to all these other questions and da 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 da. So I understand why he didn't say it, but though he should have said something.
Absolutely. How about you, Sage?
Agreed. I wanted him to say something. Obviously that would have stopped a lot of trouble. It would have kept the open and honest. Where was she? That's what she wanted. She's like, I don't lie. I want honesty, and he couldn't give it to her. So
Agreed. Another one we agree on. Yes, he should have.
But she
got
also
over
did a lot of lying to herself. So
well,
do what?
she did a lot of lying too. So to her father, and so I mean, she's no better.
yeah, it was. Well, okay. I think lying
I
to get
think
out
what
of
she
the
was doing to
house.
her father is much worse. So I don't know. So
I don't know. I do feel like
I'm looking at you like
I don't know. I don't know. As a girl who told my parents I was, some places, and I really wasn't at the places I said I was. I'm not going to begrudge Allison. Allison, Lord have mercy. At least her ability to get out of the house. But I do believe Ax should have told her. I do. I said, when he was doing it, I'm like, just tell her what it is. And he like standing by the window, like, bless his heart. So, with that said, we all agree that he shouldn't have done it. And then a vote for maybe at least is a little hypocritical. When she found it, and so this is two questions. When she found it, she went straight to Peyton and asked him about it. Instead of waiting and talking to him. And then when he got there, she kind of didn't even give him a chance to open his mouth. So what do you think of her reaction?
It's interesting is like, when because Peyton didn't want to get involved in it. He didn't tell her that, okay, Ax had sex with Novo. He just said he went to the club with Novo. She took the leap from, that, just finding the key and knowing that he went to the club with Novo to, okay, he fucked her, instead of just being like, okay, and then when she confronted him, she wouldn't let him say anything. She already, she was judge, jury, and prosecute. She was judge, jury, and executioner. Without listening to him, and so he shut himself down too, which I don't think he should have. I think he should have made her listen at that point. But
Yeah.
But maybe she just wasn't in the frame of mind, and he was just too upset to do it. But
Probably.
it's like. She overreacted and she didn't listen to reason, and that's on her.
It was. Okay, Sage, what you got? Look at your face. You like,
No, I mean, yeah, I agree. She didn't give him a chance to explain. She jumped to a bunch of conclusions. But again, he had plenty of time to tell her Novo was a boy. He literally let her think Novo was a boy, right? He when you do things like that, you are allowing, there's a difference. We talked about, I don't agree with the whole lying to the parents, because lying to the parents, that's one relationship. Lying to a significant other, that's a different relationship. So I think that those kind of lies are not the same. So when he omitted that Novo was a boy, a girl, he allowed her to have these, so when it up rolled in, she's like, well, he was with Novo. I remember now, he pretended, he let me believe she was a guy, so
yeah, it was kind
things.
of a lie by omission, right?
Yeah.
And he just let her think what she was gonna think. And I don't know, I probably would have been like, I know you fucking lying if you let me think this was a boy. You know what I mean? I think I would have made that leap too, but I would not have gone to Peyton's house and asked him instead of asking the guy that I'm in a relationship with. That just wouldn't have happened.
I agree.
I don't, Yeah, he didn't correct her, but he didn't. Yeah, it was kind of an omission, I guess. A lie by omission.
I think they both did it though, right? So I think they
Yeah.
both. Yeah.
They both earned it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
But the funny, you brought up that scene, and I'm just gonna remind you. I love that he sat there and tried to make the woodland animals like his dad, and totally failed.
It was bad. Well, he had to like get to know. Now I know. Okay, so a lot happened like right after this because you know that was just like the end because they kind of didn't say shit to each other. I don't even know how they did it because I would have still, if I was Elise, I'd still been calling him. And another thing, but and one more thing, but Peyton got shot in the head, and we're gonna talk more about him a little bit later. But he kind of did them a solid by kind of patching it up on Elisa's side by clarifying some things. That was very, very decent. What did you think about their makeup? Their makeup
of Elisa and Axis?
Yeah, they made up.
I mean, I thought it like it was just like
it was romance.
I mean, it was cute because he's like giving her the, you know, he made this, you know, the little woodland creature he was trying to make, you know, he was trying to whittle, and you know, she was just like, what is this? He's like, I don't know.
Try so hard. Try so hard.
No, I mean, it was good. Like, you know, of course he was going to let her in no matter what. And the fact that he was like naked, it was really funny. And he's just like, yeah, you know, so.
Right. I mean, he's sitting there naked, making his little animals. I mean, he was just a sad, sad case. Like, I mean, he's
like, I might as well end up like my dad. And make these look. It was. I really loved it. I was very proud of Peyton. We're gonna get to him in a minute, but I was just glad that they could work it out and they could hear each other because for a while it didn't seem like they were hearing each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. So another big part of this book was Rage and Biddy and Mary, and you know, right at the start, Rage was just like a little bit pessimistic, even though Lassiter said in the theater it was going to be okay. Why didn't he listen to him? Like, why? Rage's like, I don't trust Lassiter.
You know, I think Rage is just an emotional person, and he does a lot of things based on his emotions as opposed to listening to logic. You know, he's quick to be, you know, the emotional reaction to something as opposed to just being like, oh, wait a minute, he did say it was going to be okay. Okay, I'm going to try to calm down. I'm going to try not to panic. You know, I'm going to try to be the big man, which, you know, and through this whole thing, you know, he wants to be this big, strong guy for his females, and he just isn't that guy. He just isn't that guy. I mean, he loves them and he's there for them, but he's just not this emotional rock. You know, he's just not that guy. You know, so
yeah, he wears his heart like right here.
Yeah, totally.
You know, and that's what we love about him, right? Mm-hmm. So, what do you think, Sage?
I think, well, you mentioned that scene in the theater, and I think he really doesn't even, I think he thought he imagined it, right? Because he was like, was Lassiter here? And he didn't like almost believe like he did see him. So I think he thought he hallucinated it and like him being there. You know, so I don't really think that, but you're right. He does wear his emotion on his sleeves, and you can tell me a million times that's not something that I'm nervous about is going to be okay. And I'm still gonna worry about it. I'm not gonna sleep.
Yeah.
I'm gonna nag you about it, and I'm gonna do all kinds of research about it because I'm nervous. And I think that's where Rage is right now. You know, he was just nervous about the whole situation.
Right.
And understandably, right? Because you know, this is their one shot to have a kid. And he don't want anything to mess it up. You know, so I get him being like super worried about it all. So I'm sorry, you were gonna say something, AJ. No, you were good.
No, it's just okay. You have more questions, so we'll get to it.
Okay, all right. So on that, before he went into the field, the night he got hurt, he was having a discussion with Biddy, and it was very candid conversation that will probably have to happen between Nala and Zadis, and any male with their young. But do you think it's a little bit harder for Biddy because she just got the life she wanted, and she's already lost so much?
You know, fortunately, she's older, so she has more understanding of things, I think. But yeah, I think it's harder because she doesn't want to lose what she has. That,
Yeah.
Because she's never had a stable environment. And Mary and Rage have offered her the first stability that she's ever had. So, which is very important. And and even at her age, it'll be a miracle she doesn't need therapy when she's older. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's a lot.
So because she's already had her formative years when you think about it. So
yeah, pretty much, and they were pretty shit. Yeah.
I mean, she's had every major bone in her body broken. So you can imagine. I mean,
yeah, it's a lot.
I'm still worried about that titanium rod in her leg. So obviously that's going to be
So on that, Zadis and all the brothers, really, they showed a tremendous amount of support, showing up for Biddy's procedure when she had her arms and legs broken and reset. Do you think Rage, because he was a wreck before he turned into the beast, do you think Rage would have gotten through that without his brothers, even in the aftermath? Like, he was a mess.
No, he definitely needed his support system with him because he is such an emotional guy. I mean, look, he turned into his beast.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, the leg had been set right before he turned into the beast, but he spends this whole time, I'm supposed to be the strong one. I'm supposed to be the caretaker. I'm supposed to, of course, Zadis is like, it's just, you just need to be there. Don't worry about any of the other shit. It's just showing up when you need to be there. But I also feel like Biddy needed to be the one that was strong. Like, she needed to take care of Rage because Rage had taken care of her, got her out of that bad situation. It was one of the brothers that, saved them from her sire. And I think she needs to be in control of some things. And just like the beast like gives it to her. The beast is like a puppy dog to her. He just bows to her. He's just, and I think she needs that sense of control. Because so much of her life has been out of control up until.
Yeah. How about you, Sage?
Well, we always talk about how what a loving family they are, right? They are always there for each other. That scene when they were coming down the steps and they were all nervous and they were, like coming down as this little family unit, and everybody was waiting for them down on the in the foyer, and like telling them, hey, we're your, I love last he's like, we're your entourage, we're here to come with you guys,
So
and it's just. Yeah, they're just amazing. And I just love how they're there for each other. And Zadis, to go from the one that everybody was scared of, everybody didn't trust, everybody thought if he had a chance, he'd just slaughter all of them. And then to be that solid rock. And then if you've noticed in all the different in the recent books, he's, especially when it comes to the situation with Rage, he's been this solid rock, like, hey, you got this. If I can be a dad, you can be a dad. Right. And he's like very emotionally supportive, and I just that. And then even Vicious with his calm demeanor, and he has a voice. You notice he only uses for Biddy, which I love. Like, they always describe how he uses a small voice with her, and it's just an amazing family, and I just love watching it or reading it.
That he does that. You're talking about V with his voice with it. I never.
Yeah, he uses
I
it. They always
that.
describe him using a small voice with her.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, he gets down at eye level too.
because
Yeah,
I think
she
a
does.
lot of them do though. They get down at eye level and they kind of like talk to her because she does demand respect, right? She's like, I want to know what's going to happen here, and you're going to tell me what's going to happen here, you know. And she's like this little warrior who like walks up to people and she like, I'm Biddy, and you know, like I just really love the way she kind of came in and like made herself at home, and all of these people embraced her when she had such a bad life. So I don't think Rage would have been able to get through that without them. Like it was a bunch of different times during that scene where they were his emotional support. Like when he first couldn't go into the room because it was a respectful thing. Then when she called him, then when he changed into the beast, then when he was in the limo feeling, or on the ride home, feeling like he was just the worst in the world. He wouldn't have made it through like that emotional roller coaster without them around, trying to make sure that he knew he knew that he was doing everything he could and he was doing okay as a dad, because it's unsure footing for him right now. It's like that with new parents. So it was just nice to see that he had that. So no, I don't think he would have gotten away with it. But so he turned into the beast in front of Havers. What if he would have eaten him? Look at her face! Look at her face! She like, don't eat Havers! So just for everyone,
it would have been funny.
It would have been funny.
Havers needs a DTA. Havers just needs to get fucked. That's what his problem is. He needs a good.
Could you imagine though going to tell Marissa, sorry, I ate your brother?
He needs to fall in love with the commoner so he can see why he's being such an asshole.
Maybe, but I still need him to do some groveling. Like he's done some things, but
you're gonna have to grovel for this female. Oh, you got
it. I'm not feeling like he's earned.
I love how you're writing the story. Why don't you send J.R. Ward a letter like, hey, this is a story.
Yes, and let me tell you what he needs. Do you know how many letters she probably gets a year from psychopaths like us? Like, oh my God, let me tell you how it should end. You know, her stalker fan base, we are nuts. So yeah, but it is. I do appreciate your enthusiasm to get an HEA for Havers, but if he would have ate him, like I wouldn't have been mad. You know, I'm okay. All right, fine.
Okay, but instead, Lassiter gives him a Snickers.
He did. He needed that Snickers. Ooh. Was it? You think it was something in there? Do you think Lassiter put a little something in there, like some Ativan or some, you know, some Xanax? Like,
I think there was. I think there was. Even though at that point, he was snuffling Biddy, making sure she was okay and everything, but it was like, because I don't even think it was Rage. I mean, Rage was upset. And of course, I think the beast feeds off of his emotions. But I also think that he, too, was like, okay, it's my turn. I need to get to see what's going on.
I'm just going to tell you the truth. I don't think Lassiter.
So I need to be there.
Yeah, I don't think Lassiter needs a vehicle to like get it inside of him. So I think he could have just like sprinkled angel dust on him, and he would have. I don't
know, because when Wrath was having his temper tantrum about Beth, he shot him with that drink, that dart.
Yeah, he shot him with a dart, but I don't think he would like dope somebody up without their knowledge.
But he did.
I ain't saying that the beast didn't need it, but I am saying I would hope that he would have like not.
Wrath didn't have permission. Wrath didn't give him permission to do that.
Yeah, but we saw the tranquilizer gun. Like a Snickers is kind of like, it's a Snickers.
But like, we all know that Rage has this obsession with junk food, right? What if just a Snickers woke him back up? Like,
could have been.
Oh my God.
He eats, so maybe that's what
it was hilarious.
It was just funny that the beast.
It's awesome. Any scene Lassiter's in, though. Any scene Lassiter's in.
He's so amazing. So just a couple more. So one enters the picture. And you know, I was like, don't go Zip, you know, and I even knew the ending. But when Ron got there, they kind of didn't know what the expectations were from him. Do you think they overreacted a bit?
Yeah,
Like all three of them, Ron, Biddy, and Mary.
yeah, I think they were afraid of their family being torn apart, which is understandable because Ron did have the intention of taking her, but he didn't know. And like what he explained in that final scene where, you know, Biddy's like, he's going to come to live with us. Um, he didn't know that there was an adoption process going. He didn't know there was a family unit had already been established, that this foster situation was a lot more serious than he wasn't told that the adoption process was already started. He wasn't told that they, you know, Mary knew Biddy for 2 years. It wasn't like, you know, you know what I mean? And didn't realize it was a family unit. And then once he saw that, he's like, I can't, I can't take that from her. Because that's better for her. That's a better life that I can provide for her.
Right.
So then he decided to stay so he could be in her life. You know, and he only wanted to see her like every couple of years. Like,
Yeah.
which, you know, Rage would not have allowed. He would have been like, you can see her if you want to. But yeah, but yeah, they panicked, but I understand it. But yeah, it was like, you know, all Biddy would have to do is say, hey, I want to stay here. I mean, she's 13, 3. You know what I mean? Does she not have any rights? So I kind of.
Well, their society women don't have rights, right? So, and she's a child, you know, at that. So yeah, she didn't have the rights. She's got to go where they tell her to, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it legit, that's reasonable. When you're a minor, you don't get to say, I'm going to stay here, I'm going to stay there, without there being a process. So I get that. I kind of don't. I think that Rage overreacted a bit. I think that Biddy lashed out, which is expected because she's been through so much and she potentially was losing her family that she finally got a hold of, you know, after losing so much. But I think Mary didn't react at all. Like she kind of just tried to explain the situation to Biddy, and knowing the system the way that she knows it, I think that if she would have wanted to keep Biddy, and that was not something that they ever wanted to do, to snatch her away from a family, I think Mary just kind of accepted that and just like rolled in that.
But
you
I
know
don't
what I
feel like
mean?
that was a defense mechanism on her part, that she was getting herself ready.
Cool.
Mary.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So she knows the process, and she kind of, you know, she knows that he had all familial rights to this little girl, and you know, usually they try to place kids with their family, and not with people who are not family. So I think that she kind of was like, let me process this because this is probably what's going to happen. So I think Rage reacted. He was like, he couldn't even talk to Biddy, you know, about Run. So he was like pacing around the pool table, and the only thing that like made him come back was like his sense of decency. So you know, I think that he reacted poorly, and I think Biddy lashed out, but I think Mary did the only thing that she could do, you know. Bless her heart. I was so sad, I was crying. So we meet Run, and he is something. He's something. What did you guys think of?
Big teddy bear.
Yeah.
It's a cuddly buddy. Yeah, I like them too. It did seem like he and Rage were going to have like a really good relationship. Like at the end of the book, you could kind of tell that they were forging this bond.
Well, yeah, because you learn that Ron is only about 50 years old. So it was,
Yeah.
you know, so that was, you know, that he's younger. You know.
Yeah, because I liked when they were like, it turns out that Rage was getting a son as well, you know, so it was like a pack.
Oh yeah,
that was like,
yeah,
that was cool.
He kind of needed that, right? Because you know, he had just resigned himself to not having kids. But I know one person that really enjoyed seeing Run in his face was Saxon. Saxon was kind of like, what the what? Where you come from, boo
He
boo?
was
I felt
double
some
take.
things. Right, I felt some things. Oh, it's so good. What did you guys
Yeah.
think?
You know, my favorite part, okay, so first, you know, Saxon comes in because he hadn't met Ron, even though he'd been doing the paperwork, he hadn't met him. And so when he comes in, he's like, oh, who's that?
Right.
And then, you know, they go into the study to sign the adoption papers and, you know, because Ron doesn't read or write, so he, instead of signing his name, he drew a picture of himself. And Saxon was
Mhm.
just like, oh my God, like he was just really taken by how beautiful the drawing was. And, you know, just like,
It was an exact replica.
he was like,
Yeah, it was
in the
good.
words, you know, he was like almost tearing up, you know. He was
Yeah. What'd you think, Sage?
Yeah,
It was
Saxon
hot.
swooned. Saxon
awesome.
swooned at that moment, right? It was awesome.
Yeah, he's
I
not,
Yeah.
normally he's kind of debonair, you know.
yeah, he was like, "Ooh, that's nice."
He had like a whole ass visceral reaction, like,
yeah.
ooh, what's going
Mhm.
on? He was over there like, my God. So he is a God. But
He's my male.
yeah. I could do a story or two with those guys. So that's all I'm saying.
I love them.
I do
And it's
too.
like opposites too, so that's what's really cool about it.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool.
Yeah.
So I just got a couple more. So look, we can't leave here without talking about Peyton and his brain injury. When he was shot in the club, bless his heart. So was that an opportunity for him getting shot in the head? Was that an opportunity for him to explore the path that his life was on? Because every woman he knows told him that he was a motherfucker and stupid and an asshole. So I think I added a couple, but you know, so I feel like that gunshot was an opportunity for him to like evaluate his life choices. What do you guys think?
I think so, definitely. I mean, because you just kind of start to feel sorry for him because he's like Paradise called him an asshole. You got, you know, Elise called him an asshole. Novo's like, you're a motherfucker, you know, like, and he just was like, he had time to evaluate his life at that point. Like, okay, why do people keep calling me asshole? Why do these other females overlook me? The ones that I want don't ever want me. You know, why is that? What am I doing wrong? And I think, you know, he's starting to realize that, and he's trying to make amends. So he, you know, he called Novo over and he's like, you need to help me, you know, get X and Elise back together. And, you know, and, but you know, what was interesting about that, and it's kind of a little off topic from Peyton, but what was interesting about that is he calls Novo and she immediately is like over at his door, like that. Like she very materialized when she was on the phone with him. Like, or
Yeah, that
was
was
so
pretty
close to his
fast.
house that, you know, because I don't even remember she even dematerialized. It was just like, okay, open your
Well,
phone.
it was from his point of view, and he
Yeah.
was like, I need to come over here, and then she was just like there. So you know, and it doesn't take long, but yeah. So what do you think, Sage, about Paige?
Yeah, you know, every douchebag needs to get a good kick in the ass every once in a while. So he got a good kick in the head. But
yeah.
yeah, he needed it. He needed to evaluate the things that he was doing. And I mean, I feel bad for him too. Like, we talk about him being douchey, but I feel bad because he was, you know, he was spiraling out of control a little bit too, trying to deal with everything that has that had happened with finding Alishon dead was something that really, really rocked him. And then it being his best friend to do it really messed with him. And I'm not saying that was acceptable behavior that he was doing or inexcusable, but I can understand why he was so just not together. You know what I mean? So yeah, I can get it.
Yeah. And it's understandable. Like, that's a life altering experience. But you can kind of see him like early in the book, like floundering, like he didn't know what to do. Like, even when he was trying to like approach Novo and tell her, I like you a little bit. he like, you know, bullshitted, like, I left my phone, and then she like, look for your phone, and he like, oh, it's in my pocket. Like, that was like a thinly veiled excuse, but that kind of wasn't fair to her, for him to like sneak back in after everybody was gone, like, I'm gonna move in here low key. What did you think of Novo's reaction to him?
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
No, I'm gonna say, you know, I was glad that she did that to him. I was glad that she was like, whoa, you don't spend all night staring at somebody else and then come here and want to bank. That's not gonna happen.
Right.
You know, you go somewhere with that shit. And you know, I love that she was, and as like I love that she was strong enough to do that, because she really likes him. You can see it. And I was really glad that she didn't fall into that trap.
But she has some self-esteem, so she's. I mean, she has her own issues, but she's like she values herself enough to stand up for herself. So
yeah. So, you know, we talked about a little bit about her last time, but she is just a badass. So we've seen her in a couple of books. How do you think her character arc is going so far?
Well, go ahead. It's okay, go ahead.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, we haven't seen her too much. We saw a little more of her in this book. Obviously the next book is Peyton's book, so we'll see a lot of her. So, I mean, and she's got her own, you know, inferior complexes and stuff like that, but for different reasons. But I don't know. I like her. I think that she's badass, but she's likable though, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
I agree.
What about you, Sarah?
I agree. I think that she is bad. So speaking of her arc so far, you know, when she started out, like when we first meet her, she's a straight badass. She's like, you know, climbing with Craig, you know, checking out the situation, doing the whole training program. She was just this awe of a badass woman. And but then at the same time, we got to see like her little playful side too, her joking around, her teasing with the guys, little matchmaking things that she does, you know. So you see all these different layers of her. And then in this book, we got to see her vulnerability. And, you know, like when after Peyton did that with her, she calls Axel, she's like, do you want to fuck? You know, and he's like,
no. Like, whoa.
But I'll take you to the keys, you know. So, right. So like she was feeling in this way where she's confident enough to call up a guy and be like, hey, you want to? But at the same time, she was feeling this vulnerability, and it's cool to see that. Like she was so hard and tough, and then you see these little cracks in her
skill, in her armor.
In her armor, exactly. That's the word I was.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I do think I do like her fierce independence and her refusal. Like even though she really wants Peyton, I like her refusal to accept his bullshit. You know what I mean? I do like that. And she's like, we can do anything, but we ain't doing that. And I really appreciated that level of strength in somebody so young, because we've seen females in this book that don't have that level of strength to like walk away from people who aren't treating them the way they feel that they should be treated and the way that they deserve. So I really enjoy, like, it's not that she was never strong, but in this book, she was strong while she was hurting, because she's known Peyton for a little while and her feelings for him have intensified. So I really liked, not that I like to see her get hurt, but I did really like that she was like, you're not gonna slink your little sorry ass back in here after everybody gone and like think that I'm just gonna fall for that. So that was really good. So I'm enjoying it so far. I can't wait to get to her story. But a couple of other old favorites tonight. Lassiter, our friend Lassiter. So I got like 3 questions about him. So first, do B and Lassiter just like to fuck with each other? Like, do they just enjoy their arguments with one at this point?
I don't even think that B doesn't even just like him. I think he just likes to fucking argue with him. I think they both enjoy it. I think it's a stress relief, you know, for both of them.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Sage?
I think it might have started off with each other hating each other, but I think Lassiter has proved himself to be part of the family, And
Yeah.
if Vicious was anything, he is a family, like he's part of the family, everything for the family, and he sees that you know, Lassiter does the same thing for them. And I think that squashed any like past stuff that he, you know, was upset with. And then now it's just like an argumentative thing. They just like to have, you know, like they're both mouthy and they both like to go back combat and you know, and I think they just have a good time, and we love seeing it on the page. So
yeah, I can watch it all the time. I
Mhm.
really enjoy it. And I think that them arguing, that's like the way that they show, that's their love language with one another. Like,
Yep.
you know, they fuck with each other so much, and that's the only way that either of them would know that they cared. You know, so I just think it's I think it's pretty cool. Right at the very end, he gave Mary the diamond mother's tears earrings, and oh my god, what did y'all think of that? Like, were you able to, like, you know, were you able to stop crying, or how long did it last, like 2-3 hours, or
a good 2-3 hours? Like
yeah,
it was like from the moment he actually took the tears to probably, I mean, there were some funny moments because Lassiter was in the pages, but like throughout that time, I was bawling like all the way through. That was some emotional stuff. And then when he finally gave her back those tears, man.
I know. That was kind of funny that he's stuck in the chimney, and you know, and Mary's just like, oh my god, da, da, da. And he's like, well, you just take the box, you know.
yeah. It was so cute. I thought that was hilarious. But yeah, when you know, it was funny because Ray came in and he already knew, and he managed to keep a secret, which I was surprised that Ray could keep a secret. But it was just such a great scene. But he was stuck in the chimney. How the fuck did they get his ass out of there? Because he was impaled on something. And
Let me
Maybe
tell you.
like break down the bricks. I don't know.
Right. Either that or like maybe V could do something with his hand.
I feel like I'm just telling you what my theory is. I feel like Fritz went up there and he probably like hoisted him out with like some kind of special, you know, dogging contraption for just such occasions. Like, I feel like Fritz is prepared for everything. He's probably like, no problem, master, I'll get you out in one moment.
Yeah.
So
You know, totally.
Probably did.
oh my god. So yeah, that's all for tonight. We are coming back next time with The Chosen, which is long, and as I recall, has lots of emotion, and you know, sometimes for Layla and Core. So stay tuned. We'll be back next time. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.